Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing Friday the 13th on the Geforce GTX 750 Ti. For FPS monitoring, this time I won't be using cam due to Easy Anti-Cheat, which is the anti-cheat software this game is using, so I'll be using MSI Afterburner instead. And if you want to purchase any of the parts featured in this build and support the channel, there are Amazon affiliate links down in the description too. So Friday the 13th, I'll be doing 1080p, 900p and 720p. To skip to any of those sections of the video, check the description below. So first I'll be doing 1080p, trying to get over 30 frames per second, so I had to use pretty much a mix between low and medium in order to achieve that frame rate target. And so far it tests over 30 frames per second without much of an issue, but if you want a more consistent frame rate, I recommend overclocking the GTX 750 Ti. There's a link to a tutorial down in the description if you're interested. Then at 900p, I'll show you first the 30-ish frames per second configuration, which is cranking up the settings as much as I can, trying to be over 30 frames per second. And then I will just show you the lowest setting to see if we can get 60 frames per second consistently. And finally at 720p, I'll show you my 60 frames per second configuration, or as close as I can to 60 frames per second, which is pretty much a mix between low and medium for what I could see. And then I will crank up the settings as high as I can without dropping below 30 frames per second, which is pretty much the highest setting, with shadows on high instead of epic and textures on high, since we only have 2GB of VRAM. So this game was made using Unreal Engine 4, so I was expecting it to be quite demanding on the GPU. What was very interesting was that in the system requirements, the recommended GPU was a GTX 750 Ti, so I'm not sure what the recommended settings mean. There's even an i3 listed in the recommended requirements, so that's kind of nonsense for this game actually, because I tried with a 1050 Ti and I couldn't max it out on 1080p without drops below 30 frames per second on some places. So I don't know what they were thinking when they made the system requirements. And in the options menu, we have usually the same settings that you can find on an Unreal Engine 4 game. We have a resolution scale slider, which is good to see for both super sampling and upscaling. Then we have anti-aliasing, which is not listed which solution it is. Effects, foliage, post-processing, shadows, textures, and view distance. So far, to get a good FPS boost, I had to lower most of the settings, but the first ones that I saw the biggest difference in performance were shadows, post-processing, and effects. Those were the ones that I saw more of a performance impact when they were on epic or high, so I suggest lowering those first. And then foliage and view distance have a lower impact in performance, but they still have an impact. So I recommend lowering them in groups, especially effects, shadows, and post-processing. For textures, if you have a 4GB video card, you can play it on Epic without an issue. It was using over 2GB of VRAM with textures on Epic, so I will try high or medium if you have a 2GB video card. But yeah, so far indoors the game runs pretty good when you're just looking for items inside a building. The problem is when you go outside and you have a lot of trees, a lot of foliage, maybe some water here and there. But so far just looking into the distance into those open areas is enough to have a noticeable drop in performance. And in the options menu I had some issues with the resolution. If I chose full screen, the game will just force 720p, but it didn't say 720p in the menu. And if I selected full screen windowed and I selected any resolution I wanted, it will force 1080p. So there's something weird going on with the options menu. That's why on 900p and 720p I'm playing on windowed mode, so I can actually use 900p and 720p. So I'm sorry about that, but the game is just weird with the resolutions. That's why on my videos you won't usually see 1440p and 4K on this game. I found it quite difficult to use DSR since the game is not really going over 1080p for some reason. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you keep enjoying the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
this right? Fixed it. I'm out of here.